Before me, Raphael. Behind me, Gabriel. To my right, Michael. And to my left, Oriel. For about me flames the pentagram, and in the center shines the six-rayed star. Oti Malkut Vigebura Vigedula Leolam Amen.
You have a fine baritone.
Oh, thank you very much. So it kind of looks a bit weird if you've seen this for the first time, but obviously with all of magic, you want to get into a headspace where this is different from the mundane life. So you're kind of dramatizing everything in order to get yourself into that headspace, essentially. So that's why you notice that when I say certain words, I'm vibrating. I'm not just saying it. So one, I would say aphorism in magic is if it's a special word, say it in a special way, so that it gives it more meaning to you. So now I'm going to just break down every single part and describe what each thing means and why you're doing it. So the first, from number 1 to 5, it's called the Kabbalistic Cross, where I do this on myself. So the action of pointing upwards and then going down is asserting that I am, part of the divinity of the universe, and I am, in a way, the Lord made flesh. So there's the as above, so below kind of thing. Right, so it's like asserting your own authority on the material universe. I have the power and the right to do this thing. Okay, so that's a good way to kind of start any ritual. You can now kind of say it's an affirmation of boosting your confidence in a way. And then the next stage, so steps kind of 3 and 4, is the right shoulder is the power, left shoulder is the glory, and those are the kind of 2 principal powers of God in a way. So you have the wrathful side and the merciful side. So like as above, like the God over there, I have these things too. That's kind of what you're saying to yourself, okay? And you're asserting your own power, so to speak. And then you from number 6 to 9, you saw me sort of drawing pentagrams in the air. So this is where the symbol of the pentagram comes into play, and you saw me, basically, I create a circle around myself, right? So I create this space from which nothing else can come in, right? I like to use the metaphor, not the metaphor, but the metaphor, or simile actually, that the pentagram acts like a filter and a valve. It filters only certain types of energy in or out, and acts as a valve because the way you draw the pentagram, energy only comes in one direction. So in this case, you're expelling energy outwards. So as soon as I drew one pentagram, I point it in the middle and I say one of the names of God, which there's 4 different names, each relating to one of the directions. So when you say that, what you're actually doing is you're projecting that energy out of that pentagram, and that's sort of that unwanted energy. So you're visualizing, you can just see it as shooting a beam of light through your fingers or through your wand or whatever, and it does 2 things. One, it's getting it out of your own system, and it also energizes that pentagram to do the thing you want, essentially. It charges it. So that's that. So you've created a circle around yourself and you've expelled energy out, right? So using the analogy of breathing, I mean, you can't just breathe out. You have to then replace that energy you've just expelled back into you. And that's what the next part is for, from about 10 to 16, where I invoke the 4 archangels. So when I form that circle of 4 points in front of the pentagram, I then create an image of these 4 archangels in my mind. And these 4 archangels also rule over the 4 elements. Raphael is air, Gabriel is water, Michael is fire, and Oriel is earth. This isn't really part of the instruction. I guess this is my own addition to it, where is when I say, for about me flames a pentagram, and in a column stands a 6-rayed star, I imagine the energies of the 4 archangels then beaming into me. So that's my sort of recharging energy that I've just pushed out of me. So you're replacing the old stagnant stuff with this more purer energetic forces. Okay, and then when it's done, so that's why I paused for a bit whilst I was standing like Jesus. I paused for a bit just to visualize that stuff. That's another thing to keep in mind, is whenever you're doing these things, you're always visualizing. You're not just doing the physical action. And then finally, I do the Kabbalistic Cross again as just a way of closing off the ritual. A one note when I say about I think I skimmed over the visualizations of the previous sections. When you do the Kabbalistic Cross, you follow your finger and imagine a beam of light going down your body, and then imagine another beam of light from left to right, or right to left, sorry. So you form a cross of light in your own body. The other thing is when you draw the pentagrams in the air, you imagine it in sort of a blue flame. And then if you noticed, when I drew the pentagrams, after I finished drawing, I put my finger back in the middle so then you drew the pentagram, and then you keep the circle. You don't just draw the pentagram, move on, draw, because then you have that gap, right? So you keep that circle again in blue flame. So in your head you have 4 pentagrams linked together by a line of fire, kind of thing. So that keeps that circle. Yeah, I think that's okay. There's more.
Can I ask the 6 rays?
Yeah.
Do the rays have a quality?
The 6 rays is the 5 rays of the pentagram is the 4 elements. Then the 6 rays is the 6 planets of astrological planets, excluding the star. The significance behind that is, well, the 4 planets are 4 elements, are the kind of the lower, and then the 6 planets are kind of the higher celestial bodies. So again, it's that alignment of yourself with the higher energies, essentially. Any other questions or pointers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Where do you put the tarot cards when you're doing this? Should they be with you? Because you're clearing the space, aren't you?
Yeah, this is. I would say you have to experiment yourself and see what's comfortable. Like, for example, some people would say if you want to cleanse your cards as well at the same time, maybe you just have it within the circle. But me personally, because sometimes I've had this situation where I'm reading at a desk, and then sometimes I have to get space, I'll move out, and I'll do it here. I personally don't find it makes a difference, but if you feel the need for it to sort of be included, that's fine. For me, even though I'm technically doing it in a circle, I feel like the whole space gets. But that's my own.
You're saying you're using vibrations?
Yes.
Where do you get the notes, the music? You were singing it in specific notes.
It differs from person to person, but that tone is just like my natural.
I know that there's some type of philosophy related to tones having certain effects. So the higher, the lower, they all have a specific.
In general, every example I've seen has been to use a low baritone voice. I know especially for the ladies, it might be a bit challenging, but I'd say you use whatever feels, because I don't think I know there are systems that say certain keynotes have certain quality. I haven't paid attention to that when I use this personally, so if you want to incorporate that.
So is that intuitive?
Yeah. Because I find for me, that deep voice gives a kind of really seriousness to the whole thing. So that just works for me. So, last few pointers I'd like to make. How's it?
Less than a minute.
Okay. Last few pointers I'd like to make is tips on learning this. I say take at least 3 weeks to learn this, because it is there's a lot of components to it, so it takes a while to learn, but when you do learn it, it is very useful and satisfying, because it is so effective, and as you see, you don't need tools, you can just do it with your fingers, you don't need much space, just that little circle. So it's just a very practical tool. So I'd say 3 weeks. The first week, don't bother too much with the visualizations, just physically get, okay, I'm doing this at this point,